Hey, before we start the show, just wanted to let you know that No Inner Monologue is available on all your favorite podcast providers and now on YouTube. Don't forget to check us out on social media at No Inner Pod on Instagram and Twitter and No Inner Monologue on Facebook. Now, enjoy the show. Previously on No Inner Monologue.
You know, Richard Goldwater and Michael Silberkleit. Silberkleit. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
You're also having a really hard time
butcher.
because you're scared of saying super clit, aren't you?
I'm very scared of saying superclit because now that's going to be...
That's part of my search history too, guys.
I thought it would be.
Dude, you've never found the clit.
That's why he searches superclit.
I know, right? You got to play
it's
it in
the
easy
superhero
mode
that finds the clit. That's his whole
Probably the worst of the
Okay, no,
original
hold on,
Archie
wait,
comic
hold
superheroes.
Yet the most popular at the same time.
Okay, I can't say that name, okay, but if that was a superhero name who always finds that,
What was the name, Manny?
That's actually a pretty decent
Yeah,
superhero.
what was the name, Manny?
What's the one you can't say at the office?
Sugar Clyde.
From the 7-ish Studios in Mississauga, Ontario, it's the No Inner Monologue Podcast. Hey, and welcome back to the No Inner Monologue Podcast. I'm Joey Mangione, and with me is...
Manny.
Yeah, creepy
Philippines.
Uncle Manny from the Philippines.
You know, I've been trying for a year to get you guys to drop that.
It's never going to happen. Just get over it.
You know what?
What's
I
that?
have problems with that. I have problems with getting just over stuff.
Yeah, we noticed.
I know. I was dwelling on that. You know what? Never mind. I better not talk about it.
No, dude, we're on an hour podcast. Please talk away.
Well, do you remember our little question that I proposed to you about the little person with an elephant trunk?
Oh, yeah, no, we cut that out of the last episode that you brought that in because it was just a bit too ridiculous. Maybe don't talk about it then.
Oh.
Why? Do you have confirmation now? Have you been given confirmation about this?
You know what? That's what I wanted to talk about. The answer is yes, I have been given confirmation.
Okay, all right. Let's sort of fill the audience in because we're already off the fucking rails and we're literally 10 seconds into the fucking show. This is why we're the No Inner Monologue Podcast. If you haven't noticed, Dwen is not feeling well, so that's why he's not here. And Tash is... Has she finished her samurai training? I don't know. Manny, what do you think?
Last I heard, she actually gave up on the way of the sword and is now trying to be a ninjutsu.
Okay, so she's actually moved on to being a ninja.
Yeah,
but still working.
That's what I keep hearing.
Still working within the deadly arts in Japan.
Oh, for sure, that's definitely it. I think she's gonna come back with throwing stars.
And how's the geisha thing working out for her? Have you heard anything about that?
I think that was just a disguise that she was using to get closer into, like, you know, assassinate.
Or was she just doing it so she could be in whiteface?
Oh, Lord.
You know, get back at all the years, you know, of racist entertainment. Chappelle did it and it was great, so there you go.
Chappelle. You know what? One of my favorite memes is when Chappelle, it actually says, you know, he's reading a magazine that says white people, and it's just ridiculous things white people do.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
One of the best ones I ever saw was white people, you know, will jump 30,000 feet through a hole no narrower than a door, but they won't roll down their windows past 10 p.m. in certain neighborhoods.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very, very true. So that's what's going on with the other two hosts of this fantabulous program. So you have a special episode with me and Manny. And Manny, what do you know what we're talking about today?
Well, I was gonna get down on one knee and have a very important question for you.
No, you can't propose to me. You've already proposed to like 50 women in the Philippines and Tash and the other redhead. I mean, there's too much going on that you can't afford me. First of all,
I can't afford you. That's why I got you on a pillow. Gross.
How is that sexy pillow working out for you? I'm still upset that you did that, but not really.
You know what? Don't ask, don't tell.
Fair enough. Okay.
So, you know what's been crazy though is
But you still haven't said it, whether or not you know what we're talking about today.
Oh yes, we're talking about Spawn.
Okay, not exactly Spawn. Spawn is part of what we're talking about, yes. But we're going to try...
Spawn, when you think Spawn, what are the words that come to your mind?
Well, no, I'm saying more so Image Comics, like the company that Spawn is under the umbrella of, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like, Spawn is one of the things you think of, but they've got a lot of other properties that I'm sure you didn't even know about.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple to them.
I did tell you.
Today.
Yeah, a little bit earlier.
Say what?
Yeah, like, for example, another property from Image Comics is The Walking Dead.
Kingsman as well.
And Kingsman as well. And that movie Wanted, the one with Angelina Jolie and I think Morgan Freeman and Mr. Tumnus himself. I keep taking it back to that one role there that he did back in when he was in Chronicles of Narnia.
Hey, I got a question to ask you. And it is a little bit off the rails.
Okay, but is it pertaining to the topic?
50%.
Oh God. Okay. All right. Lay it on me, man.
Sorry.
I don't know how to deal with this.
Do you find Angelina Jolie attractive, or do you just see her as kind of like she's just like generic video game heroine?
Okay. What do you mean by that?
So
because you're going in one direction, and I don't know if I'm ready for this.
So like you just mentioned in the movie Wanted, right? I mean,
yeah. She
was hot as fuck there.
Okay.
But, and then
sorry about the misogyny listeners, but this is what you're gonna get.
Okay. No. Okay. Yeah. You know what? No. Okay. Let me reiterate that. Okay. Angelina Jolie, right? I find that she can actually kind of give off, what she wants to do, right? Like, because I didn't.
Okay. What do you mean by that, though?
So, do you remember in the movie Tomb Raider, right?
Right.
And everything like that, and stuff like that. She wasn't. I mean, I know that the character Lara Croft is not actually supposed to be sexy, right? The character.
Well, no, okay.
An explorer.
The way she was designed and the way what you're saying are two contradicting things right off the bat.
I know, but that's how the character was supposed to be. But yeah, that's
right. I mean, the fact that you say, "Oh, no, Lara Croft's not supposed to be sexy," but look at how she's fucking designed.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, right? So I mean, that's why Angelina was probably chosen. She was, I would believe, considered to be one of the most attractive women in the world, arguably. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. So she is very attractive. Angelina Jolie is very attractive, but in some of the movies, I don't see that doesn't come out. More the character comes out. Do you see that as well? Are you okay? You're saying her acting ability overshadows her looks, which is I think what she wants. Okay, so then I'm not being misogynistic. I'm being in a backward roundabout way, yeah. Oh, cool. It's built in with a boatload of misogyny, but you're trying to be complimentary about it and actually quite progressive in a weird Manny way. So Dwen will hate me for this, but I'll give you points. But by the way, a boatload of misogyny sounds like an interesting podcast name. Yeah, I feel like my Uncle Joe and some other friends would be hosting it, but let's not get into that. Oh my god. So, okay, back to the topic. Back to Image Comics. Image Comics. All right. So, what do you know of Image Comics aside from Spawn and what I told you this afternoon? Truthfully, not much. What I know is about Todd McFarlane, the original artist of the Venom suit from Spider-Man 299. Right, 298, when Venom first originated. Then there was and then that, that famous cover Spider-Man 300 where it's Spider-Man in the black suit, like web slinging, with a yellow background. That's a Todd McFarlane original. Yes, Todd McFarlane was one of the best at Spider-Man. He sort of revamped the whole, so to speak. Yeah, he made Spider-Man like really super cool in the late 80s and 90s and stuff, right? Right. So, and
when you take, and then eventually, spoiler alert, that suit becomes Venom, right?
Right. Yeah.
If you take a look at the way Venom is, drawn, at least the Todd McFarlane version, and then you actually take a look at Spawn, I mean, there's a lot of obvious similarities between both of them.
Right, exactly. Do you know about now? Todd McFarlane was one of the top artists at Marvel during his tenure there, right? You know this, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Do you know about Jim Lee?
Yes, I do know Jim Lee. I have a personalized video of Jim Lee wishing me that I was at San Diego Comic-Con.
That's pretty cool. Now, my question, do you know what Jim Lee's like? Jim Lee holds the record for doing the book, I think the X-Men book that sold the most copies ever at like 8 million or something insane like that.
Hold on, what was it? Let me think. Was it Executioner's Song?
I'm not sure, but it may have even been a Wolverine. I'm not sure. But again, like my point is, Todd McFarlane, there were 7 artists that started Image, and they go by the names of Eric Larson, Jim Valentino, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, Will Portasio, Mark Silvestri, and Jim Lee.
So you're telling me that Image Comics is the Velvet Revolver of the comic book world?
You never heard about this, have you?
No.
Dude, oh man. This is actually surprising to hear because you are, supposedly this grand comic book fan.
But I stick to like the
you
stuff
stick
I
with
know,
okay, right? But you know of these names that I've just given to you, right?
Honestly, I know Jim Lee and I know
Todd McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane, yeah.
Okay, so
did you say Jeff Johns or no?
No, I didn't say Jeff Johns. I said Jim Valentino, Eric Larson, Rob Liefeld, and Mark Silvestri, aside from the rest.
Rob Schneider, what the hell?
Rob Liefeld, not Rob Schneider. Holy fuck, man. You can do it all night long. Anyways.
Rob Schneider is a demon.
Now, those 7 creators, essentially, I can't remember if it was late 1991 or early 1992, but in that sort of that range there, right in the early 90s, the 7 of them decided that they were not getting a fair cut from what was being offered at Marvel. Right? Because I don't know if it's like the comic book world has this grand history of ripping off the guys who created these characters. I mean, I feel like the only ones that have ever really come out of it like unscathed are like Stan Lee, and because he's wildly renowned as the godfather of Marvel Comics and the creator of that and all that business, right?
Yes, I mean, but there's also been a lot of artists that have been stepped on, right?
Exactly, but that's where the birth of Image Comics starts. Right now, these 7 guys, actually, apart from Jim Lee, these 7 guys had. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm moving something around.
Okay, he's like, fuck, man. No rest for the wicked, huh? Yeah. So, anyways, these 7 guys, that's Eric Larson, Jim Valentino, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, Will Portasio, and Mark Silvestri. And I said Jim Lee, right? So, those guys, they sort of saw the writing on the wall saying, hey, we're responsible for Marvel's top sales in the last however many months/years.
Right.
Now, if you go look at the early 90s, you won't pick up a Marvel book without these guys' names on it. Like the top selling books of the early 90s, late 80s, you will not pick up a book without these guys' names on it. Each one of them has some sort of like thing with Marvel out, and it is like top-notch stuff, right? Like the art is amazing. I mean, Todd McFarlane's art speaks for itself, and I only mention that because it's the one I know the most.
So you know that I actually have Spawn #1 autographed by Todd McFarlane.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. We'll get into Spawn and all that stuff because I know that's what you know mostly and what I know a bit about.
Okay, Stripperella and Tank Girl, are they Image Comics?
I am not sure on that, but let's just double check. So, okay, Now, the thing is, what I'm trying to say is, like, with these 7 guys, they sort of actually just jumped ship. They went into Marvel headquarters, right, in New York. They all sort of met up in New York City and said, hey, we're going over to Marvel. And they went in there and said, hey, yeah, we're not working for you anymore. We're going to do our own thing, right? And here's the craziest thing. They walked into DC as well, like that same afternoon. They got out of they walked out of a what's it called, Marvel Comics, and then they stepped into DC office, and here they are. Here's DC thinking, holy shit, these are the top selling artists in the world right now, right? The top selling comic book artists in the world. We're gonna be able to poach these guys from Marvel. Our books are gonna be amazing. Only to have them like step in and say, yeah, no, we just come here to tell you that we're not going to work for you either. We're going to do our own thing. Move. Sorry?
That's kind of a dick move. That's kind of a dick move.
Yeah, but I think their whole point of doing it was sort of just to come in and say, hey, we're going to be working for the creator now. Do you get what I mean? Because like Image is sort of is built on this thing where the only thing that the company Image owns is the name and the logo.
So they only own the image of the image?
Exactly. Right? They only own the I and the word Image in terms of like comics.
No way. My police foundations degree really paid off there, eh, Joe?
You're a special guy, Manny.
I'm a regular Columbo.
Yeah, that's true. Oh God. We're already gone. We're not even 15 minutes in. Oh, dear. So anyways, right? So here's these guys that go in there and they say, yeah, we're going to do our own thing. Forget it, like that. But, you know, like realistically, though, because they're the most top selling artists at the time, it kind of didn't matter what they did. They could have left and walked right back through those doors and nobody would have said, no, we don't want you. Right.
I see. So basically, they were in a position of power to be able to leave a company, start their own. But if their company flopped, they could have just done a George Costanza and said, "No, I never got fired," or "No, I never quit."
Yeah, exactly. That's really exactly it, right? I mean,
what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they came out with some pretty big properties at the time, like in terms of what's it called? I think Wildcats is one of their properties.
Oh, speaking of big properties, how you doing, Joe?
That's inappropriate, Manuel. That's just
okay. So Wildcats, eh?
Yeah, that's one of theirs.
Wait, wasn't Wildcats taken over by Marvel?
Yeah.
No, by DC. No, by DC. That's right. Because I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I might be confusing brands, but Grifter, the guy with like, you know, he wears like basically a red Tarzan thong on his face, right? Is that him? Is that Grifter?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah. So okay. So the reason why they were taken up by DC, but this is the other thing with Image Comics. So their first few issues just skyrocket in sales, right? I mean, Spawn 1 speaks for itself, right? Like, and it was obvious that Spawn was their top seller, as well as, you know, Wildcats is one of them. And I'm trying to think of what the heck was the other property, and I can't think of it right now. Oh,
Kingsman?
No, Kingsman actually came later. I'm trying to look it up, actually. Because they had a bunch of like really like big selling properties that everybody was like, whoa, this is the future of comics, right? So anyways, they were like kicking ass in sales for the first little bit, but then they ran into a snag where you have nothing but all these like creative guys, but nobody had a business degree out of all of them.
Oh.
So now they're running into issues where, oh fuck, we're not getting comics out on time and all this shit. So it really hurt a lot of their sales in the early years of Image. So by the first 3-4 years, yes, their sales were like, okay, so Witchblade was one as an Image property. I Kill Giants, Hit Girl, Kick Ass, Kingsman, Monstrous, Bitch Planet, Snot Girl, Criminal. These are all Image properties, right? But a lot of these are in later years, right?
Okay. So you're telling me that all these artists left, but on their way out, they didn't find, the one guy in business and be like, you should come too.
No, they didn't. They're like, no, we're not going to do that.
If only LinkedIn back then would have saved Image Comics.
Okay, well here's the products that the books that they were working for Marvel before they left. So you had Todd McFarlane on Spider-Man, Jim Lee was on X-Men, Rob Liefeld was on X-Force, Mark Silvestri was working on Wolverine, Eric Larson was working on The Amazing Spider-Man, Jim Valentino was working on Guardians of the Galaxy, and Wilt Portacio was working on Uncanny X-Men.
Okay.
Right, so those are pretty big deals.
No, well, I mean, all of them are big deals. Like, I mean, those are huge. Just trying to think of something here. Hang on.
Okay, here's another one. Not Eric Liefeld. Todd Liefeld comes out with Youngblood, which is one of their first comics to come out. I believe it was their very first was Youngblood, right?
Yes, I remember this.
You remember Youngblood, right? The comic.
I do.
Yeah. And Eric Larson had the Savage Dragon. Do you remember that?
Yeah, sorry. Look, if I go quiet, it's because I'm digging through the archives of shit. Okay? In my brain.
Oh, gross. And upsetting.
No
all at the same time. And Jim Lee did Wildcats.
You know what? We should have a drink. You know what? To anyone listening to this episode, you guys should take a drink for every time Todd McFarlane's name comes up.
It's going to be a lot in this episode because Todd McFarlane is a big deal in this. But we're both fairly big Todd McFarlane fans.
Yeah.
Right? So we like a lot of his stuff. I mean, I think you used to collect the Spawn toys and shit, didn't you?
I have a few of them, but I also have I actually met Todd McFarlane at Fan Expo in Canada 2016.
Oh yeah, is he a pretty cool dude?
He's exactly what you think he is. He's a cool guy who was on top for a while. Now he's kind of, been demoted to the B table, so he's kind of bitter about that.
I don't know if he's been demoted to a B table thing. I mean, I think he's just older, and his comic, really, what else has he come out with since Spawn? That's the real question. Although he continues to make Spawn.
So, okay, getting back on track here.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we talk more about Spawn now?
Are you waiting to talk about Spawn? Is that what you're dreaming for?
Well, I mean, one thing that I've been kind of noticing about all the information you've given me is that Image Comics truly had the potential to be a big powerhouse in the comic book world, especially with those big names. I mean, let's face it. There was a reason why comic books declined in sales all the time, right? And that's because stories were the same. Like, okay, I liked that they took adventures, that they actually dealt with, other issues. Like, I'll give you an example. You know that trope where a superhero's never really dead? They'll come back in a few years?
Yeah.
Right? See, Image Comics, they went a lot darker. Image, what Frank Miller did for Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, that was pretty much the tone of Image Comics, I found. There was no happy, upbeat, everyone wins at the end type deal.
The thing with Image, and if you go looking through their catalog, we've only mentioned, this episode really is a footnote in what the real history of Image Comics is. I mean, we can only do so much justice for it, with the handful of research we've been able to do. But if you go looking at it, you'd be surprised at how much that's already out there that you, as just a regular, every run of the day person, have seen that was originally an Image comic property. right? Like, for example, that television series Happy. Did you ever watch that?
I've never heard of it.
Well, okay, Happy is about this ex-cop who's got a whole...
No. Hold on, let me finish. I've heard of the series Happy. I've just never heard of the term happiness.
Why must you ruin my life?
Oh, that's how I feel, and that's why I've never said met happiness.
Oh God, you tend to suck the joy out of everything. Have you ever noticed that?
It's on my resume.
You son of a bitch. It's on my resume. Fuck you, man. Fuck you.
No, it's not correctly grammatically. Neither was that sentence.
No,
Anyway.
no, it wasn't. You are terrible. I mean, shit. I think I just want you to write messages on our group chat with poor grammar, just so we can hear from Tass every once in a while, from coming in from her like crazy missions of assassinating like Malaysian prime ministers and stuff.
Oh God, Joe. This podcast has a tendency to predict the future. Let's go back on that, okay?
If Derek Zoolander can say it, I can say it. Fuck it. I don't care anymore.
Well, you got the hair.
I thank you, I think.
Yeah. So the TV show Happy, right? That was originally an Image Comics property?
Yeah, it was an Image comic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, there's another one.
Constantine. Is Constantine one?
No, I don't believe it is. Doesn't look like it from my research, but I could be wrong.
What about Lucifer?
Again, I'm not 100% sure, but again, like I said, there's so much to go through, and I recommend looking into this stuff because the Image Comics is pretty cool. How about we take a little quick interlude, a little break, to hear from our good friend there at the Convoluted Podcast.
How's it going, everyone? Jesus here, aka Tyrant Dominus, the host of the Convoluted Podcast, where I get a chance to talk with people from around the world and from my own backyard about the things they love, careers they have, hobbies they enjoy, projects they're working on, and along the way, they tell us some wacky stories, and we get to play some games. Join us on the Convoluted Podcast, everywhere podcasts can be found.
All right, that was fun. So anyways.
Hi, Jesus.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
We should have him back on sometime. What do you think?
I would love to have Jesus back.
Okay, how about this? Because I'm not sure. I don't know. Can you do like a group talk on Skype? I don't know yet.
I think you can.
Okay. I'll have to look into that. Because it's a lot easier to get a Skype conversation going if you're in the room too. But anyways, let's not go any further than that. So okay, now we'll get into what you've really wanted to talk about.
I know.
You've been dying for it. Since I mentioned Spawn Comics, you've dropped his name many a times.
Now, Joe, did you hear that just now?
What was that?
That's the sound of me fully erect, buddy.
Oh, gross.
Here we go.
Just so gross. Fuck's sakes, man.
Do you know realistically why, like, as a kid, I actually bought a Spider-Man 300. I own 2 Spider-Man 300s. In fact, when we delve more into our our comic book stuff, your roommate had some really impressive comic books, right?
Brock, who is
Producer Brock,
was on the show once for our Canada Day episode last year and has helped us get off the ground.
Yeah, so he's got some really good comic books as well. Maybe he'll be, with his permission, maybe we could share some of them on social. But later on, I do want to share some of mine. I do have some rare comic books. In fact, do you know that I own Amazing Fantasy, the one with Spider-Man first appearance?
No, I did not know that.
I own that, and I also own a very rare reprint of Detective Comics, Batman's first appearance.
That's pretty cool. Reprint. Now here's my question, because you've mentioned Spider-Man, and Was Spider-Man your first experience of Todd McFarlane's work?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
It was. I mean, even the secret. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he's the one that drew the Spider-Man in the Secret Wars cover. Right, and
I would look that up, double check that, because I'm not sure.
yeah. So the thing as well is that when it comes to Todd McFarlane, again, take a drink. His art style has always been more towards the dark, shady, with the whites and everything, right? And if you take a look at Venom and you take a look at Spawn, early Venom, early Spawn, there's a lot of similarities between them, right? And,
okay, explain that for the non-comic-y person.
Okay, take a look at Venom's face with like the white eyes things that he has. It looks very similar to Spawn's look. Right?
So you're saying that Venom and Spawn are similar designs in some regard?
They are.
Okay.
They are, yeah. It's like they went to the same tailor. But you know what it's like? It's like if you copy someone's homework and you're like, change it just enough so the teacher doesn't notice. That's what.
Throw a red cape on it and it's good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
See, but here's the thing, right? Like the whole reason why these guys jumped ship, right? The whole reason why.
No. Let me interrupt you. They didn't jump ship. They built a raft and sailed away.
Yeah, they built a new ship.
Yeah.
But the whole reason why these guys left was because they felt that they were not getting enough compensation for characters that they created. For example, if Manny is saying is true, right? Venom is technically a Todd McFarlane character, but because it's owned by Marvel, he gets nothing but a royalties check for it. As opposed to, the amount he gets for creative license or not creative license, but like intellectual property. Marvel gets that amount.
Yeah, of course.
And DC with any other character that they've come up with over the years, right? Including, from Superman all the way to Green Lantern and beyond.
Yeah.
And that was their biggest issue.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. I mean, and the way that, okay, so getting back to Spawn for a bit here, okay? Do you know when Spawn first came out, it was really, there was like a really cool SNES game, which how Tash has Bart's Nightmare that she hates?
Yeah.
Or is it Bart versus Spaceman?
It's Bart's Nightmare. Tash's inexplicable disdain for The Simpsons is based off of this one video game. Instead of watching the show, which is kind of ridiculous in my point of view, but anyways.
The SNES version of Spawn was one of the most difficult games I've ever played. And that's actually what led me into reading about Spawn.
Okay, my question to you is difficult enjoyable or difficult frustrating? Because there's two different ways to go with difficult.
Difficult frustrating.
So then why would you be interested in the character then if you're frustrated with a game? Like I kind of see Tash's point of view in that regard.
Because of the box art of the game. And
so you were more interested in the artwork than you were the actual game.
Okay, so I was playing this game, I'm like, what the fuck is this game? And then I'm like, oh shit, this character looks cool as fuck.
Right.
This 16-bit didn't give it any justice. And then I'm pretty sure that SNES cover was actually designed by Todd McFarlane.
It's probably more than likely it's Mr. McFarlane's work. Yeah. Take a shot.
So then I'm like, okay. And then around this time, the movie came out. With the clown, John Leguizamo.
Yeah, John Leguizamo from Bogota, Colombia.
That's right. Yes. Okay. All right.
You've forgotten the whole bit, didn't you?
I did. I remember. I'm just thinking, this pop-up video moment. But anyways, right, so
I'm throwing references from old shows, guys.
No. And the guy that plays Spawn, what's his name?
Oh fuck. That guy
it's not Jaleel White.
No way. Spawn has been played by Steve Urkel.
Who the fuck am I thinking? He's an expert martial artist.
Spawn has been played by Steve Urkel.
Oh my god, I forgot it. Anyways, I forgot his name.
That's so funny.
Yeah, you want cheese and death? But anyways, right?
Mike, did I do that?
Yeah, jeez.
Michael Jai White.
Michael Jai. Okay.
Yeah.
In my defense, that's a proper. You can see why I was confused. Okay?
What? No, I can't.
The last name's White.
Dude, they look nothing alike.
No, it's just the last name is White. That's
That is racist, sir.
No, the last name is White. Jaleel White and Michael something White.
Michael
So yeah,
J. White.
that's why I got confused.
It's still racist as fuck, Manny. You son of a bitch. Anyways, continue. Manny? Hello?
Hey, can you hear me now? Sorry about that.
Yeah, continue, man.
I got ketchup on the mute button. Anyway.
Wait, whoa, what?
My flight is in 3 hours, so I'm trying to get something to eat in between.
Okay.
So so I've been muting myself, and I got ketchup on my mute button. Anyway.
What are you eating?
Shut up! Like you.
What are you eating?
Not surprised.
No, but what are you?
I'm eating a burger from this place called Army Navy. It's sexy good.
Sexy good. I've never
It's a sexy
heard
good burger.
of a burger being described like that. Does it have the pineapple on it?
No, it does not. It's just good.
I don't know, man.
But
What are you washing it down with? What are you drinking?
This Army Navy drink called Liberty. It's iced tea.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's
They
exciting.
have freedom fries.
And
Yeah.
freedom fries. Oh my goodness.
This podcast brought to you by Army Navy. It's sexy good, you fat fuck. Anyways, right?
Yeah.
So when the movie came out,
Right, the Spawn movie
see,
in 1997.
Yeah, you know what it reminded me of? Tim Burton's Batman. The whole dark tone, the whole dark atmosphere about it.
Right.
It had that, so that's what got me hooked into Spawn. Then I actually went out and I started reading the Spawn comics. And then when I got a little bit of money, like I started working. Keep in mind, like this is when I was like 16, 17. When I started working and I got enough money, I actually paid like $50, and I got an original Spawn #1.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I met Todd in
Tom McFarlane?
Mr. McFarlane. When I met Mr. McFarlane in Fan Expo, I got him to sign it.
That's pretty cool.
Funny thing is, he said to me that he goes. I asked him, like, do you get this? Do you sign these a lot? He goes. I honestly think there's more Spawn #1s in the world than there is $1 bills. That's what he said.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. That's people were buying those things by the truckload, thinking that they were going to be able to make money off of them. But the problem is that they just kept being printed. They just kept making them, so it's kind of like, the whole special, the whole special thing, the whole special thing about a Superman one, like Action Comics #1, is that it's rare and you can't find it. With Spawn, they made so many of them.
Joe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go off the rails for 2 minutes, okay? Because I have some real.
What is the difference from usual?
Okay, so it's pertaining to Action Comics. So do you know that in early 2000, some collector uploaded a PDF file of Action Comics #1, complete, scanned every page front and back. So a bunch of people actually got the blank newspaper from like the 20s, and they actually printed their own Action Comics #1 with that PDF file.
You mean newspaper print?
Yeah.
That doesn't make it a fucking original print, though. That's just a fucking ripoff.
It's a nice ripoff. That's what it is, right?
Fair enough, but it's not original.
Yeah.
The whole point here being is that Action Comics #1 was a rare comic book. It was hard to get.
Even at the time it was released, it was hard to get. I mean, like only like a few corner stores had it. Now,
exactly. That's the whole point of it.
Now, you being a massive Superman fan, okay, who is the first person Superman faced off against?
I don't even know.
Crime? The first person Superman beat the shit out of was actually a domestic abuser. in Action Comics #1, there's some dude who slaps his wife. Superman bursts in like like some fucking like a
hero.
Hercules, yeah, like a hero. He just bursts in, and then it's like, oh, you're like slapping women, eh? I keep in mind it's the 20s. I'm assuming that's how they talk, right? He fucking like threw him.
It's the 30s, you idiot.
Yeah, the 30s. He threw him through a window, and the woman's like, "Oh my God, thank you, Superman." And he's like, "I'm Superman," and then he like leaps away. He doesn't fly away. He leaps away.
Do you think they fucked?
Yes.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
But here's the thing, though, and this is the problem with Superman having sex with Lois Lane, is if he gets too excited, it's like a fucking shotgun. She's gone.
Oh, I would imagine so.
The only way he could do it, the only way he could do it for her safety, is with a kryptonite condom, and that would kill him.
Oh man, I think we just found Superman's weakness: blue balls. Man. So do you remember?
Oh, I honestly stole that from Kevin Smith, but yeah.
But do you remember back in going back to Spawn in a second? Do you remember how back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, Superman would get random powers like super ventriloquism, super facial movement?
Oh, they were just coming up. They were just coming up with all kinds of crazy ideas to try and sell books, right?
Yeah, and that's what Spawn and his power kind of originates like that. Like, so Spawn can do if you remember the movie, he can do whatever he wants with his cape, with his powers. He can make blades. He can do whatever he wants.
Well, the cape has like a mind of its own, doesn't it?
Kind of.
It's almost like, I would argue it's almost like Doctor Strange's cape.
Yeah, only more fashionable.
I don't know about fashionable, but...
And less racist.
Why is Doctor Strange's cape racist, please?
You know what?
Clarify.
Don't worry about that.
What do you mean? No, fuck you. We're on a fucking hour show. Why is Doctor Strange's cape racist?
Look, you know what? I'm just throwing it out there. It might not be.
You're the fucking worst.
Yeah, I am. But
okay, all right. Let's go back into a few things. So you mentioned that Wildcats became a DC Comics property.
Yeah.
Would you say that was around 1999, like early 2000s?
I would have to look it up, but I'm inclined to agree with you.
Okay.
Because I remember Wildcats being Image.
Yeah.
And then the next time I saw Grifter was in the movie Flashpoint.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, what?
Okay,
so did this happen?
So here's what happened there in around that time. So at that time in Image's history, they were starting to sort of lose some steam and momentum. Mm-hmm. And that's mostly because they were having issues with like not getting books out on time. It was hard to get a copy. It like, some they were like delayed by months, and it's just because these guys who are not business savvy, they're just really good fucking artists, didn't think, oh shit, we gotta like do the business side of stuff too, right?
Yeah.
So that's why, and I believe it was Jim Silvestri that sort of took the reins and said, okay, I'll make sure I'm the publisher or whatever, or it may not even been him. Could be way off on that. But anyway, somebody sort of decided, hey, I'm going to take the reins of this thing and become the publisher, and sort of make sure that everybody was like on the same page in terms of planning these issues and making sure they get out on time.
So you're telling me that there was a boardroom meeting. They're all discussing, Kingsman should do this. Oh,
well, no, this all again, Manny. This all predates Kingsman.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But they're all in a boardroom talking about, Wildcats, talking about
whatever their properties are at the time. Yeah.
And then one of them actually said, "You know what, guys? we should start selling these products.
Essentially.
How do we do that?
That's what it seemed
How do
like.
we do that?
Like that's literally what it seemed like, because they were just taking, like, some issues would like take forever to get like a second issue out, and like, you know, books were just getting delayed constantly. And so for the reader, how do you feel about that? Like, you're waiting for the next comic to come out, and you know, it's delayed a month, 2 months, month and a half.
I can see why. It's like if you're watching a TV show and you want to see the continuation of, let's say, you know, a cliffhanger. If the show doesn't come out for, like, you know, the second continuation doesn't come out for, like, you know, 2 or 3 months, and it's not even a season finale, just like a regular episode. You know, it's been delayed.
You stop caring.
You're like, fuck it.
Exactly,
I don't care what happened.
And that basically is what hurt a lot of their sales through because they skyrocketed to the top at the beginning, and then they started to drop down the hill because there was no sort of business plan in place. Mm-hmm. Right? And so Jim Lee actually went and sold the rights and all that stuff with Wildcats, and his I think his company was called Wildstorm, and he sold them to DC.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, interesting.
So that's why Wildcats ends up becoming a DC property by 1999.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So now okay. Now, see, to kind of put into perspective, by the way, I looked up Tank Girl. Tank Girl is not Image Comics.
It's their own. It's like a Dark Horse, isn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But it kind of just puts into perspective how much they went downhill. Because the only, like, when we talk, let's talk movies, right? The only movie that was actually the famous movie that was made was Spawn. Right? And that was from Image Comics. Now, here's the thing. They had so many different working topics as well. I mean, there's no reason why, there couldn't have been a Wildcats movie, right? But, I mean,
there was a television series, though, Manny.
Yeah, there was. Right?
There was the cartoon, and then Spawn had the cartoon, too, which sort of helped keep Image Comics alive.
The one in HBO.
Exactly.
That one was nice. Exactly.
Voiced by... Hold on here. I think I have a clip.
I'll even help you out in case you don't watch game shows. Okay?
Gilbert Godfrey.
Who is
about to take your head off?
Keith David.
Okay.
Do you know who Keith David is? Could you imagine it was Gilbert Godfrey?
I'm Spawn. Look at me. I can't do a Gilbert Godfrey.
That's close enough, man.
Oh man. You know, I just had a thought. Could you imagine how awesome it would have been if Todd McFarlane ever did a Batman Year One type deal?
But with Spawn?
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I mean, I believe that Spawn is in production for a reboot.
That'd be nice, actually.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that as well, because, I mean, we could joke around all we want about, and actually praise the art, praise the different, the artists. I mean, we've said, their names. Todd McFarlane, have a drink, you alcoholic. Okay.
That's it pertaining to the drinking game that Manny has proposed to the listener earlier on.
Yeah. Right. But what it is at the end of the day, if your comic book gets a movie, that right there is an instant boost in sales and everything like that, right? And it becomes crazy and that's what garnered attention to Spawn #1. Now, another movie. Now, I know that this is kind of one that you like. What's the other famous Image movie? Image Comics movie is Joe's. We talked about it a little bit earlier.
I don't know what you're trying to get at, Manny.
Kingsman.
I liked it, but I found that the second one was not as good.
Oh, I 100% agree with you on that one.
The first one was really cool, really well done, but then not so much after that. I mean, there's a lot of things that are pretty awesome in terms of the Kingsman movie and the new universe that they've built. But I feel like it could have been much better executed in the second one. Let's be honest. The best part about the second one was Elton John's cameo.
Oh yeah, that's right. Spoiler alert.
He was the best fucking part of that movie.
He was actually, and even the way that they brought back, what's his name, the British guy,
Colin Firth.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's really vague in a movie that's all British guys, right? Actually, no, that's not true. That's not true. They went to like America. They went to Texas, I think.
Yeah, they did. In the second one, they had Channing Tatum, Jeff Bridges, and the guy from what's it called, Narcos and Game of Thrones.
Okay. Again,
Yeah.
one more off topic. So, here in the Philippines,
Okay.
I have two nicknames. Okay, they call me Escobar because I'm chubby and have a beard. Okay.
What? No, Escobar didn't have a beard.
He had a mustache and stuff. But anyways, and did I tell you what the other one is as well? I think
No.
I might have mentioned it before. John Goodman.
What? That doesn't even make sense.
I know. I think that was just low-key finding a way to call me fat. So,
Yeah, that sounds about right. That was definitely a way of calling you fat. So, okay, let's break this down just to get back on the topic. But let's break on some other, like, popular things that, you may not realize.
Fucking John Goodman. And the worst part is, she said Flintstones era John Goodman.
Oh, that's the best John Goodman, though.
That hurt. That hurt me. That cut deep.
What are you talking about? That's the best John Goodman. If there was going to be any John Goodman, I would be Fred Flintstone John Goodman. That's the best one. Because don't forget, in that era, I think he played fucking Babe Ruth in a TV movie. He was doing pretty good. That's the best. If you're going to be a John Goodman, that's the one you want to be. He was popular on Roseanne.
Oh gosh. Okay.
And don't forget, he got to have kissing scenes with Elizabeth Perkins, which she's not a bad looking lady.
I will say though, but he is a hell of an actor though.
John Goodman is a champion.
He is. All right. Okay. So but before we go off the rails,
although he's no Nicolas Cage, but that's another story. So, anyways, yeah. So back to Image Comics. The other thing that you could look into is a lot of their movie properties and their television properties. For example, I think we mentioned it earlier in this episode, but The Walking Dead is an Image property.
Yeah,
and
I always genuinely forget that is an Image. That it really is. I do forget about that. And I think The Walking Dead.
Now, did you read the books at all?
You know what? I read up to. I read like the first two. Like when they came out, I wanted to get a spoiler alert, so I read the first two seasons.
The first two books.
Yeah, the first books that covered the first two seasons, and then when Andrea died, but she's not dead in the books. I kind of stopped reading it. And then I was like, you know what, fuck it, whatever.
Well, funny enough.
But I know Brock is a huge Walking Dead fan, at least the comic books.
Yeah, I've never seen him sit down and watch the actual show, but he likes the books.
Yeah.
But okay, so at around the early 2000s or whatever, Image added in a new partner, this guy called Robert Kirkman. And now think of it this way, because at the time. Before that, like Robert Kirkman wrote on Invincible, which was another property, I believe, is another Image property, right? And he created that, and that was doing fairly well. And he, pushed and fought tooth and nail to get his Walking Dead series done. Did you just belch?
No, I did not. That was me finishing my Liberty.
That was definitely a belch. Gross. So anyways, okay, so he does he pitches the Walking Dead series to Eric Stephenson, who was just promoted to executive director of like publishing and all that in July 2008. And so he's like this. He goes, hey, he starts pitching this idea for this black and white comic series about zombies. And now I believe Jim Valentino, who also had some say in whether or not things would come out, sort of was like, I don't know, zombie books don't really sell, whatever. And so what Robert Kirkman does is he lies and says, well, it starts off as a zombie book, but then as you go through, right, it sort of leans in towards being a whole alien invasion setup and all this stuff or whatever. He's like, all right, let's try it. I'll give you 5 episodes. I'll give you 5 books. Right? But each one was selling better after another. So around the fourth issue, Eric Stephenson finally picks it up, starts reading through, and goes to Robert Kirkman and goes, hey man, I noticed there's no setup for aliens at all in this thing. When's that gonna happen? Robert Kirkman's like, yeah, I kind of lied to you. It's just a fucking zombie book. Now, the benefit of that is that Walking Dead just kept beating sales from the previous issue.
Yeah.
Right. So someone would ask him, hey, what's your top selling issue? And he'd be like, the current one. Oh yeah. What was it before that? He goes, the month before. So it was consistently like getting top sales numbers each issue it came out. It was on such a high like incline. And so the whole thing with Image, and it goes back to even the beginning where the founders and all of their stuff was hitting like, high strides early. Now, the benefit for someone like Robert Kirkman coming in when he did is because his work now has a backing of business savvy people. Right? The early stuff from Image was in some sad respects kind of doomed because of the fact that it was like the guys were going in with guns ablazing like the Wild West style.
Yeah.
Now it's a little bit more planned out, and that's why you're going to see, if you go looking through, because they've got stuff like Saga, Chew, Morning Glories, Fatale. These like
Morning
these
Glory
books,
holes? What?
It's gross, Manny. Morning Glories, but anyways, like. Have you ever read?
And Morning Glory sounds even worse. Morning Glory sounds the same way.
It does.
That sounds like a strip. That sounds like a. That sounds like no. That sounds like an early morning escort service for those that work at night but want an escort service in the morning. Morning Glory. Anyways,
you're disgusting, and you need to be sterilized. That's there. I said it.
So when do you start the business? I'm drawing up the paperwork now.
I've got my business partner in the room. Say hello, Jim. Hello. Anyways, so have you ever read like the graphic novel Saga?
No.
It's like this sort of sci-fi, like space opera type thing. It's really cool. I've read a few issues. It's a very interesting book. And one of the cool things I believe is that I think the lead is a female character. I can't remember exactly. It's been a while since I read them, but I just remember I really enjoyed those books. Right, and that's an Image comic. The coolest thing about Image is that you're getting to see, you're not just getting pinned down by like superhero stories like you would with a DC or a Marvel. Right. Image is allowing creators to come out and do what they want to do. So
you know what, Joe? I just remembered the other big franchise that we are not mentioning because it has our favorite person in it.
What is it?
Kick-Ass.
Yeah, that's...
And it has Nicolas Cage as that pseudo Batman hit daddy. Or Big Daddy, something like that.
Yeah, that's a Kick-Ass property.
Yeah. That's an Image property. There we go.
Yeah, that's an Image. That's an Image. Yeah, it's Image. Yeah.
There we go.
I may have mentioned it or not. We've worked Nicolas Cage in this episode. Manny, you did it. The show's almost over, and you pulled it off.
There you go.
I'm
Nick
so
Cage.
fucking proud of you.
You know what? Okay, so I know just kind of hit on Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass I feel like kind of brought Image Comics back into the mainstream as well.
I would say, I would argue as Walking Dead.
Yeah, okay, so...
Because think about it. Think about
Dead,
it here, right? Like, Walking Dead really just drove sales of the comics. Now, what I'm trying to get at here is that the thing about Image is that it's allowed for the creators to come out and do their own thing. Now, it's in sort of a world where the creators can come out, go do a series for Image, but they can still go work at DC. They don't have to sort of jump ship and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like the way it works now is you get to cut your teeth, and learn the ropes at a place like DC or Marvel or something like that, right? Gain your popularity there and then go out and do your own series for Image.
So
because then you get to have the
for,
full creative control.
So you work for J. Jonah Jameson for a little while. And then you... bring me pictures of Spider-Man! No, I am Todd McFarlane.
Exactly.
I will now draw Spawn.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of, yeah.
That's actually kind of what happened. But yeah.
I mean, it's so cool. Like, there's so many like movie properties and so many other things that is Image Comics that you wouldn't think about it until you actually hear about it, right? And that's one of the most amazing and coolest things ever. Manny, I think we're coming to an end here of the show. Do you have any other final thoughts about Image Comics or Spawn or anything like that?
I like to think that Image Comics is probably one of the few, at least now, it's going to be a great alternative to the happy-go-lucky, everything bright MCU that is out there.
I wouldn't say happy-go-lucky, but it's a great alternative to superhero stories.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
you. You get more.
That.
There's a lot more like human. For lack of a better term, but human stories in what Image Comic has publications have brought out over the years. Yeah. Right, you're getting different kinds of stories. You're getting for example, The Walking Dead is really about a story of a father and son trying to survive in one of the most dangerous and volatile situations they can.
Detroit?
That too, but but at the core of The Walking Dead, it's a father-son story. Yeah. Right, and I think that's why a lot of people can relate to that. Like those things of it, like the zombies and all the other shit is cool, but you know what? At the core of something like Walking Dead, it's a father-son story, right? Spawn, that character deals with so much existential questions and like whether or not
it's about revenge.
It's not just about revenge. It's about, is he actually doing the right thing or is he not doing the right thing? It teeters on that line of what exactly is good and evil when you think about it.
Yeah,
right. Because he's essentially working for the devil, but he's killing demons that have escaped.
Yeah,
right. He's your anti-hero. Like he's the beginning of the anti-hero. Because then if you go looking at like movies and comics and television and all that stuff, the anti-hero becomes much more prevalent since Spawn and since Spawn's publications. Right, since Spawn's come out, you tend to see the anti-hero a lot more than you used to.
That's true, yeah. Like the Punisher, anti-hero.
Well, the Punisher, okay, mind you, the Punisher predates Spawn. So that just shot my fucking point right out of the water. Thank you, Manny, for correcting me.
Yeah.
But you get the idea, right? I mean, it made the anti-hero more popular.
It 100% did. I mean, I think that if Spawn wasn't as successful as it was, Venom would have never turned into an anti-hero. He would have gone the same way as, generic Spider-Man villain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point, and it's possibly correct. So anyways, are you got anything else?
You know what? There is probably a lot more stuff we talked about.
We've hit the tip of the iceberg on this. I mean, if you
The
are
tip,
still,
eh?
oh boy,
Just a tip, eh,
just for
John?
a bit, just to see how it feels.
Yeah. Go on.
But if you are more
I
interested,
said go on.
that's it. I'm done. This has been the No Inner Monologue podcast. I'm Joey Mangione. With
And
me
I'm,
is the creepiest of uncles, Tito Manny in friggin' the Philippines. We bid you adieu, and please, please, please do not choose combo number 5.